So there is something not mysterious about missionaries, but there is a level of sacrifice that evangelists might not be asked to make. So there is a reason why sometimes missionaries are not really understood, but they're also put on a pedestal, which is really not where the Lord would ever want us.
You always hear this is the cream of the crop. And sometimes I wonder, wow, what kind of cream is this? I finally came to the understanding. God just showed me one day, he says, the disciples are just a motley crew of, you would think, of people that Jesus pulled together. And maybe they weren't the cream of the crop, so to speak.
For this Unseen series, I've shown parts of our church working with exploited children in the Philippines and other parts in the remote highlands of Papua New Guinea. But I've discovered, while talking and interviewing with missionaries, that there are unseen things that are happening really close to home. In this video series, I'll be showing the hidden lives of our missionaries and looking deeper than the stereotypes we have about them.
To just be with the people, live together with them, and know more about them is really, really very hard. Because when I did that, I had to forget something about me.
The first thing that stood out to me while interviewing these missionaries, either in person or through video chat, is how their entire life is impacted in ways that nobody could expect. They had to adapt to things both rewarding and disruptive.
When I met Miru, who was already a missionary, I was not hesitant to get married, because usually in our culture, getting married to a missionary is something, it's very challenging. The parents might not agree, don't want her daughter to get married with a missionary, because we think missionaries are always financially challenged and living unstable life.
The situations here in Bangkok I work with is with the Burmese migrant workers. Their situations are totally different. They are migrant workers working 12, 15 hours a day. And the place that we gather in a small, dirty, dark place becomes a holy place where the Holy Spirit works. Oftentimes we think of church as a big building and a nice facilities, environment, good music, things like that. But something that we experience the Lord is more than the material or the locations.
For them, living out a calling came with daily changes. The ideas they had for how a church looks, and even something as personal as their marriage, were given up for God to change. I saw, especially in Miru and Mijie, a young family with a new baby daughter, that they were challenged to grow when they gave up control of their future plans to God by leaving behind their family and culture to be replanted somewhere different.
I really learned what it means to walk with the people, together with them, relationships with them, day by day life, instead of just a glimpse of just a chapter of the missionary's life.
As Christine says, it's a day-by-day life in a new culture that is surprisingly difficult. The major life changes of moving countries and starting new roles can be adapted to quite quickly. But from what I heard, the mundane little things, they wear on you as a daily reminder of being out of place. Part of their work is to learn just how to be comfortable in a different ordinary. All these changes to do ministry and live in another culture also leaves a mark on the families for generations to come. Kids especially are shaped for the rest of their lives by their time on mission.
Giving birth here was very different from what I have always expected, because from the checkup till the delivery, everything is very different. I think one of the sad thing about being a missionary is that she has not met her grandparents yet, or she will only have few chances to have time with her grandparents.
When I was at Southern Nazarene University and having missionary kids on, when they come to school there, here they look like they belong and they don't. They're from a different worldview, they grew up in a different place, and they're also feeling like they need to defend their home culture of where they grew up, and it just further isolates them, and they're not sure how to deal with it.
I'd describe their lives as spontaneous and stressful in a healthy way. They're having to be stretched to adapt to what God is doing, and it's not some rugged adventure that makes their life difficult, but it's a daily ordinary that they struggle with, just like anybody else. While interviewing these missionaries, one of the biggest impacts to their lives that I saw is how unexpectedly public their roles are. They have to act as ambassadors between their home church and culture and the new culture where they are. This becomes the most challenging when every 2 years they visit home for what's called home assignment. That's when they visit and speak at churches, trying to build up support, share about their work, and try to inspire people.
Every home assignment that we've been on, we have tried to kind of train the church or teach the church as well, different ways to kind of bring this cultural dimension into even our home assignment.
My first and second year home assignment, it was really very tough because during the time Philippine churches doesn't really know what happens in the missions. Even the old pastors, those who've been in the ministry for 30 years, on 20 to 23 years or more, they were like, what? Why are you raising your support? You're a missionary. Yeah, and then for my last few years, it was really great. I've seen the Filipino churches improve so much. Churches never knew about the details, but now that they have more information, what's really happening in the global missions, the process, how missionaries are living and they have to raise their support, they knew better how they can take part in the mission of God.
For some missionaries, getting support from churches can be the toughest part. It can be difficult for some missionaries when they don't fit into people's stereotype about them.
I think that a lot of people believe missionaries' main responsibilities are working with one local church, or one local group. And I found that not just in the Church of the Nazarene, but where I was assigned, missionaries had many responsibilities. So that took me off guard. I thought that, I would be leading Bible studies 5 days a week, but I discovered that God is a creative God.
The misperception is that missionaries are all involved in evangelizing people directly in the cultures where they are. When what I've been doing these 37 years is to equip. So the way I like to think about it, missionaries are doing all three of the primary ministries of Jesus in the world today. Some are preaching, some are teaching, and some are healing. But it's difficult for the home church to think of the three facets of the ministry of a missionary.
It's really hard to think something that we haven't experienced or seen. When we talk about missions, the churches back in our home countries, they tend to understand or try to understand what the stories of what I shared from their own experience. My recommendation is that we probably have to leave out of where I am, my church, and be ready to journey with missionaries.
Looking at the unseen side of these missionaries' lives has taught me a lot. They take on so many more struggles than I imagined. I always pictured an exciting Indiana Jones type of person, but the reality gets misunderstood. They're juggling heavy workloads, having to educate churches about what they do, building support, all while having to learn just to be comfortable in a new culture. That is a hard task, but I'm inspired because I can see in each of the missionaries that I've talked to that they've been taught by God through the struggle so that they can change lives wherever they're sent. In this video, I looked at the more personal ways that mission work changes a missionary. In the next, I'll be showing a bigger picture of how missions as a whole has been changing.